Hello and welcome. It's Thursday, the 3rd of April. You're tuned in to our 10 a.m. newscast here on ARIRANG TV. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. Seoul's top government officials convene a rare emergency meeting after South Korea confirms North Korea deployed the 2 crashed drones recently discovered in South Korea's frontline regions. The chief nuclear envoys of South Korea, Japan and the US will hold talks in Washington next week to discuss the continued nuclear threat posed by North Korea. Plus, small tsunami waves hit northern Japan following a powerful 8.2 magnitude earthquake thousands of kilometers away across the Pacific Ocean in Chile. Our top story this morning, the South Korean government held an emergency meeting at the presidential office on Wednesday evening following confirmation that the 2 drones that crashed into South Korea over the last 2 weeks were from North Korea. Presided over by President Park's National Security Advisor, Kim Jang-soo, South Korea's ministers of defense, unification and foreign affairs discussed how to beef up the country's air defenses and surveillance against such unmanned aircraft. The South Korean military concluded Wednesday that a drone found on an island just south of the western maritime border this week, as well as another one found late last month south of the demilitarized zone, were from North Korea. The rather elementary-looking drones were found to contain photos of military installations and even the residential quarters of Seoul's presidential compound. They're also capable of holding up to 1 kilogram of explosives. Following up on their trilateral summit in the Netherlands last week, South Korea, Japan and the US have agreed to hold chief delegate 6-party talks next week to discuss the continued nuclear threat posed by North Korea. According to diplomatic sources in Washington, where the talks will take place, the delegates from the 3 countries will discuss joint countermeasures after North Korea hinted at conducting a, quote, new form of nuclear test. Seoul has yet to appoint a chief delegate for the talks, as the post has been vacant since the previous official was named vice foreign minister. The last time the 3 countries held 6-party delegate talks was in November last year. The actual 6-party talks involving the 2 Koreas, the US, China, Japan and Russia, have not been held since December 2008. Now, the top US military official in South Korea has sounded an alarm on North Korea, saying the atmosphere on the peninsula is ripe for a surprise provocation. Song Ji-son reports.
North Korea could strike Seoul with limited or zero warning. That's how the commander of U.S. Forces Korea sees the situation on the Korean peninsula, just days after 2 Koreas exchanged artillery fire across the western sea border. Speaking before a congressional committee in Washington Wednesday, General Curtis Scaparrotti said the Kim Jong-un regime is dangerous and has the capability to attack South Korea with little or no warning. The general, who assumed leadership of U.S. Forces Korea 6 months ago, says it is a common strategy of the North to come out of a period of calm with all guns blazing. But he also warned about a possible impact to crisis management in Korea from the Pentagon's budget cuts. Scaparrotti said his forces are prepared to counter a North Korean attack, but expressed concern about the readiness of follow-on forces that would be required in any prolonged fight. North Korea has long-range artillery that is capable of striking targets in Seoul, where 23 million Koreans and 50,000 Americans reside. The U.S. general's remarks came a matter of days after North Korea fired scores of shells into South Korean waters in apparent protest over the ongoing joint military drills between South Korea and the U.S. Song Ji-son, ARIRANG News.
US President Barack Obama is expected to visit Korea for 2 days from April 25th to the 26th, following his state visit to Japan starting on the 23rd. Sources in Washington say the US is considering an additional day in Tokyo since it will be a state visit. During his fourth visit to Seoul as U.S. President, Obama is expected to reaffirm the Seoul-Washington alliance and discuss North Korea-related security issues with President Park Geun-hye. The two leaders will then assess the implementation of the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement that has now entered its third year. President Obama may attend some sort of educational or cultural event, as well as one involving American troops stationed here in Korea. Obama will also visit the Philippines and Malaysia during his Asia tour. Korean Americans in the U.S. state of Virginia are celebrating a job well done as the final hurdle in their push for the dual naming of the body of water between Korea and Japan has been overcome. The Voice of Korean Americans, which has been lobbying for the change, says Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe has signed into law a landmark bill on the East Sea name. The bill, which takes effect on July 1st, requires all textbooks in the state of Virginia to say the waters are known by the Korean name East Sea, as well as the Japanese name Sea of Japan. Many Koreans see the name Sea of Japan as a cruel reminder of Japan's imperialistic past, as the name was registered when Korea was under Japanese colonial rule. Now, the Japanese government is expected to bolster its territorial claims over Korea's Dokdo Island. In a review of its school textbooks this week, there's also speculation the Abe administration may backtrack on its landmark apology to the victims of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement. Our Hwang Sang-hee reports.
Diplomatic sources in Seoul said Wednesday that Japan's education ministry will convene a meeting on Friday to release the screening results of its elementary school textbooks. The revised versions are expected to carry stronger claims over Korea's Dokdo Island. The island, which is physically closer to Korea in the body of water that divides the Korean peninsula and Japan, has long been a thorn in bilateral relations. The Japanese government initially planned to unveil the new textbooks last month, but postponed it ahead of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's first official meeting with President Park Geun-hye in The Hague to demonstrate Japan's sincerity to mend ties with Korea. But that sincerity is now once again in question. Ahead of his meeting with President Park, Abe pledged to uphold a landmark apology to victims of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement. But Japanese opposition lawmaker Tatsuki Eda said at a seminar in Washington, D.C. Tuesday that the Abe administration still intends to review the Kono statement and issue a revised version sometime next year. Eda, who expressed concern about the move, added the new statement would contain Japan's official stance on war and draw international attention. The Japanese government reiterated Tuesday it does not plan on revising the existing apology, but that it will verify the way in which the statement was composed. While Korea and Japan were expected to hold working-level talks on the so-called comfort women issue this month, the chances of such a meeting taking place now appear slim. Hwang Sang-hee, ARIRANG News.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers $15 billion. Northern Japan has been hit by a small, roughly 1-meter-high tsunami following the powerful earthquake that struck hours earlier across the Pacific Ocean near Chile. For the latest on the quake's aftermath, our Shin Se-min reports.
Small tsunami waves washed up on the northern part of Japan Thursday morning following a magnitude 8.2 earthquake that struck off the coast of northern Chile late Tuesday evening local time. The Japanese Meteorological Agency said small waves were monitored in Kuji Iwate Prefecture, while minor tsunamis are also being monitored in several other regions in Japan, with the possibility for higher waves later. The Japanese government issued a tsunami advisory early Thursday, saying there was a possibility that waves of up to 1 meter above the normal sea level may hit the eastern Pacific coast, but it was unlikely to cause any damage. Aftershocks continued to hit the region around the epicenter of Tuesday's quake. A magnitude 5.8 earthquake hit off the coast of Panama near the Costa Rican border Wednesday, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Although no damage was reported, officials said some schools and hospitals were evacuated as a precaution. Chile got off quite lightly considering the strength of the quake, and the subsequent 2-meter tsunami waves did not do much damage. Local authorities reported a total of 6 people died, a relatively low death for such powerful natural disaster. Although over 26 homes were damaged, most infrastructures held up with mines in the world's top copper producer functioning normally. The 900,000 people who evacuated the low-lying coastal areas were able to return home Wednesday morning as the authorities lifted the tsunami alarm. Chilean President Michelle Bachelet has declared parts of the country a disaster zone and toured the worst-hit areas on Wednesday. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
Korea's foreign exchange reserves hit a record high in March, making it the 9th record-breaking month on the bounce. The nation's central bank said Thursday that the figure rose to above $350 billion as of the end of last month. That's up $2.5 billion from February. The Bank of Korea attributes the increase to the weak US dollar that pushed up the value of non-dollar assets and a rise in investment profits. Korea has the 7th largest foreign reserves in the world. Korea's Trade Ministry will hold a second round of preliminary talks in the coming days on joining the US-led Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, starting with the United States this week. Korean trade representatives will meet with their US counterparts in Washington Thursday, followed by more talks in Ottawa, Canada, next Monday. The additional discussions are intended to help Korea determine whether it will formally join in the TPP negotiations. Korea's Trade Ministry says it will make a final decision on its participation during the first half of this year after assessing the possible economic impact. The trade pact currently involves 12 countries. Now, if it's innovative ideas you want, Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute appears to be in a league of its own. For the 3rd year in a row, the institute has been ranked the world's #1 innovation center by a US-based research institute. Na Hyung-kyung reports.
One of the world's leading business patent databases, IPIQ, says Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute has maintained its status as the #1 innovation center in the world. That's among some 300 government agencies, institutions, and universities around the globe, assessed by the IPIQ for their innovation drive and ability to collaborate with other organizations.
They've outperformed the competition on developing patents around the hottest technologies in the space right now. We call it innovation cycle time, and ETRI is winning in this area by producing patents in some of the most relevant, hottest sectors.
The state-run ETRI, based in Daejeon, took the top spot this year with a patent count of nearly 900. That total is 85% higher than that of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the second-best organization on the scorecard. Aside from ETRI, the only non-American organization in the top 10 was Taiwan's Industrial Technology Research Institute. The ETRI has earned patent royalties totaling around 160 billion won, or roughly $150 million over the past 5 years, chief among them being patents related to the 3G mobile telecommunications technology. The Science and ICT Ministry says ETRI's achievements are a testimony to Korea's information and communications technology prowess and proof that the country can succeed in building a creative economy, President Park Geun-hye's key administrative goal. A government official added that it will continue to help the institute focus more on the quality of Korea's patents from now on. Na Hyun-kyung, ARIRANG News.
Now, for a look at our international headlines, we're going to connect live to our Eunice Kim, who's standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
Hello, Mark. Let's begin with an update on the Ukraine crisis. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde says the East-West standoff over Ukraine is already showing signs of pressure on the Russian economy and could pose a threat to the global economy already, quote, too weak for comfort. In Washington, Lagarde said talk of sanctions against Russia has had their effect when you look at the growing capital outflow and the change in Russia's monetary policy. Russian policymakers raised raised borrowing costs in March to the highest level since 1998. Meanwhile, NATO's military chief Philip Breedlove said Russian troops were ready to move into Ukraine within 12 hours of a given order. He told CNN 40,000 troops are amassed in their border, supported by aircraft and all the logistics required for a successful incursion. The United States is troubled by Iran's choice for its ambassador to the United Nations and has communicated its misgivings to Tehran. Hamid Abu Talebi, a veteran Iranian diplomat, was a member of a student group that had stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran in 1979 to hold 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. The State Department called the nomination extremely troubling, but has not commented on whether a U.S. visa would be declined to Abu Talebi, required to enter the UN headquarters in New York. And following a blow at Sunday's local elections and a new prime minister pick, French President François Hollande has reshuffled his cabinet, and among the new ministers, his ex-partner and mother of his 4 children, Ségolène Royal. Royal was given the post of Environment and Energy Minister. She is no stranger to politics. She served as Education and Family Minister under François Mitterrand and ran a presidential campaign in 2007, losing to Nicolas Sarkozy. Hollande also placed other prominent socialists, including Michel Sapin, as finance minister in a move apparently meant to balance his earlier choice of Manuel Valls, a right-winger, as his new prime minister. Stem cell scientist Haruko Obokata said she will not retract her doctoral dissertation through a lawyer. Obokata earlier this week was found guilty of falsifying research data in stem cell research that would have been a game changer if it was true. The research involved a surprising new way to generate some stem cells from already developed cells, but a committee of investigators led by her own institute probed her study after other researchers could not repeat her findings.
And a good Thursday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Incheon Asian Games. Of course, with the event taking place later this year, the organizers are now asking for the help of the IOC in regards to North Korea's participation. Now, Kim Young-soo, the president of the organizing committee for the Incheon Asian Games, met with the president of the IOC, Thomas Bach, and asked for his help in making sure North Korea participates in the upcoming Asian Games. While North Korea has stated that they will participate in some of the events, organizers want to make sure it will happen amid the North-South tensions going on in the peninsula. And now moving over to Game 1 of the KBL Championship Series between the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus and the Changwon LG Sakers. Of course, going into the game here, Mobis off to a hot start, take a 24-11 lead before LG rallies in the second quarter to cut the deficit to 36-33 going into halftime. Now, LG continues to far away from the paint as they outscore Mobis 27-19, take a 60-55 lead going into the fourth quarter. But despite Davon Jefferson and his 27 points and 9 rebounds, Mobis comes back in the fourth quarter to take Game 1, 77-74. And sticking with the championship series, but over in Game 4 of the Women's V-League Championship Series between the GS Cartex and IBK Altos, with IBK 1 win away from back-to-back championships. But that's not going to happen easily as GS Cartex's blocking game stops IBK's offense all throughout the night as Bethania de la Cruz de Peña explodes with a championship record of 54 points on the night, helping GS Cartex take this match 3-1 to force this to a decisive Game 5. And now shifting over to some Wednesday night's KBO action as the NC Dinos beat the Kia Tigers 8-7 with LG all over SK 8-3. And the Hanwha Eagles crushed the Samsung Lions 10-5. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Tucson Bears take on the Nexen Heroes. Now, of course, Chris Volstad looking for his first win here in Korea as Jorge Canto in the second inning of the game drills this one to deep left field, gone a solo shot, and it's 1-0 Tucson. Same inning, men on second and third, Yang Yi-ji through the left side, and it's 2-0. Next play, Kim Jae-ho this time flies out to right, a sac fly makes it 3-0. But the bottom of the inning, bases loaded, pass ball scores Park Byung-ho, and it's 3-1. We go over to the fourth inning. Next, it starts rallying. Munuram singles to left, and it's 3-2. Gonna shift over to the fifth inning. Min Byung-hun sends this to right, just over the wall, makes it 4-2. Next inning, Yang Yi-ji, and here it goes, deep to straightaway center field. Back, gone as Tucson scores 2 more times in the inning for a 7-2 lead. Seventh inning this time, Lee Sung-yeol drives this one to deep right, and it's gone. But wait, next batter, Munuram, and it's deja vu all over again. Back-to-back solo shots. But no matter, as the Tucson Bears hold on to win this game 9-5 with Chris Volstead earning his first win in Korea. And now finishing things off with some AFC Champions League group stage results and a great night for the K-League Classic teams as the Pohang Steelers beat Shandong Luneng 4-2, with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors beating the mighty Gwangju Evergrande 1-0. So with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, right now, clouds are covering up the peninsula, getting ready to drop spring sporadic showers in some regions. It will be less than 5 millimeters in the capital area and 5 to 20 millimeters in Gyeongsang-do starting this afternoon. And of course, gusty winds will blow through and it will make it feel chillier than actual temperatures. Also, it looks like parts of Gangwon-do will receive a snowfall of up to 7 centimeters at the most during the day. So if you're in those regions, be sure to have umbrella handy and dress warmer because it looks like we'll have much cooler day for the Seoul metro area as spring rain will still away our 20s afternoon highs, dropping to 14 here in Seoul. Now that's 8 degrees lower than yesterday, but actually the temperatures we'll see today is still a bit above the seasonal averages. But after days of relatively warm air, it will feel cool and breezy. With that, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. The afternoon high in Seoul will only rise to 14, and Daegu and Gwangju will pick 22 and 19 respectively. And Busan should also top out at 19 with a patches of clouds. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like down on Jeju, Daejeon, and Dokdo will all climb up to 17, while Mount Gunggang will have a chilly or cold, that is, afternoon at 5. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world.
And that's all for now. We'll be back again at noon Korea time. In the meantime, you can always catch up with what's been happening on our website, which can be found at arirang.co.kr/news.